Welcome to Cups and Courage. Today's guest is Shirley. Shirley was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2015 and she had a recurrence 5 years later in 2020. She currently has no evidence of disease. Cups and Courage, the podcast. Welcome, Shirley.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I'm really looking forward to this conversation, and I'm really looking forward to opening the Cups and Courage biscuits in. Okay, hang on. Oh, okay. That's not what I thought. Because we had a conversation, and I thought you were going to bring something different.
Yeah.
Have a biscuit.
Oh, thank you.
One of your biscuits. These just chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah.
Good.
But vegan.
Are they vegan?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you strictly vegan? Or,
Mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah, mostly. Apart from when I'm on holiday. I can't be.
Selective. I had a spell of being vegan, actually. And I say a spell. I try and eat, not animal related products too much. But mine was actually when I was first diagnosed. I went, that's it, not doing it.
Yeah.
But then cheese,
Yeah, that's hard. And there's no vegan cheese that tastes like real cheese.
No,
As
it's
much
not.
as I try.
Thank you for your chocolate chip vegan cookies.
Okay.
Next tradition that we have on the podcast is we ask our guests what their own definition of courage is. And it's not a light question. It's fairly in there. So
Yeah.
I'm going to hand it over. What's that for you?
So courage, I think, for me, is doing things a little bit out of my comfort zone. So this is taking a lot of courage. Also just pushing through things that I wouldn't normally do, or things that are big that takes a lot of effort to do as well. So I think that also comes with a bit of courage. And yeah, just being brave. I suppose brave comes to mind as well when I think of courage. And like, going through cancer, people say, oh, you're, so courageous and brave. Like you have a choice.
I hear this quite a lot, actually, when people say, oh, you're so brave and you're so courageous. And I always think the intent is really lovely in there. They mean well, but to your point, it's not a choice. No. So it's happening. Yeah. And I always then think, well, you can show up courageously. And if that's just getting out of bed every day and having a wash, like that's anything. I like your point around effort. Yeah. Anything that requires effort, great. Thank you. Okay, so Shirley, give us a little overview of your own personal experience with breast cancer.
Yeah. So in 2015, I had a niggle that something was up. I had a little lump, but I just thought, I exercise a lot. It must be muscle tissue or something. And then I went to get a smear test, and then mentioned to the nurse, "Oh, this is what's going on," and she kind of like fast forwarded it on to like, "Let's get you seen and by the breast specialist." So I went to do that, and they did like biopsies, and they did scans. To one point, the lady that was doing the scan, the sonographer, said, "Oh, it seems like everything's fine." Probably the worst thing you can ever say to somebody. And then 2 weeks later, I went in just thinking I was just getting results to say everything would be fine, to be told that I had breast cancer. And they weren't too sure. It just kept escalating. So it started off with like, oh, it looks like you might just need a lumpectomy. Oh, no, you got DCIS around the breast. You're going to have a mastectomy. To having a mastectomy, having a reconstruction. After that, I then had chemotherapy for 6 rounds. So I was 36, by the way. So I was 36 when this all started. My children had just started their new schools. One had just started at infant school, and the other one just started middle school. So quite major situations for them to deal with. So then I had chemotherapy, lost my hair, had reconstruction. I had a DIEP flap reconstruction, so that means you take away the fat tissue from your stomach and put into your breast, which sounds quite simple, but it's actually quite serious surgery because they have to make sure everything matches and cells match together. So that was the first bout. So I lost my hair. And then after that I was in remission. So all was good. And then I had a recurrence 5 years later. So in 2020, in the middle of COVID, I felt a lump on the same reconstructed side. I thought, I'm not going to leave this time. I'm going to go and get it seen to be told that, yes, and we're going to have to deconstruct the reconstruction. And because it was COVID, they weren't doing anything. So they did the surgery to remove the breast, but they couldn't do reconstruction. So then I had nothing for 2 years. So I was flat on one side and then had my other breasts on the other side. And so the second time round, I had chemotherapy in all forms. And then I had radiotherapy as well. So, yeah.
And you're not flat on one side anymore, though?
No. So a couple of years ago, I had a reconstruction again. Because that was a thing for me, having my breasts. I know everyone's different, but I was fine about losing my hair, but losing my breasts I felt quite uncomfortable with. So I had a prosthesis for 2 years, and then I had a reconstruction, but with not my own tissue, with an implant.
Yeah. How is it now? How are you feeling now about boobs?
Yeah, so they're not symmetrical. I don't think they ever will be. They are a bit one-sided, but only I notice that.
Yeah.
You might notice it now that I've said it.
No.
But yeah, I feel a lot more comfortable having, although I don't have a nipple, so I just have one side which is an implant and the other side which is my normal breast.
Would you ever like to have a nipple? Because you can have nipple reconstructions now.
Yeah, so they did ask me if I wanted to do that. And after consideration, I thought I don't really want to have any more surgeries unless I really, really have to. And that was more cosmetic for me. So
yeah, I get it. Thank you. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just pick up on something you said. You said actually hair loss that had less of an impact on you than losing a breast. And what's interesting is we don't know what that is for somebody else because for me, my hair loss was catastrophic. But my breast, the loss or, removal of my breasts, obviously still significant as anything, but had less of an impact, although it's probably is the lasting impact, obviously, because, both of our hair's grown back. Yeah. But it's interesting, isn't it, about what the impact of those things on individuals, because we're not the same.
No. And you don't know until you're in that situation either.
Right.
Because I always thought that hair was a big thing for me.
Yeah, okay. Boobs are bigger. Okay, let's get into the healthcare then side of it, because you've had two real key times, 5 years apart, where you've had an experience with the healthcare system, and I'm interested in that. Have you had a positive experience? Have there been pockets where potentially things could have been dealt with a little bit differently, or?
Yeah, I think. When I mentioned earlier about having a scan and they told me that it was fine at that time and they shouldn't have done, I don't think there's enough sort of research that's gone into somebody who's probably of black origin and what cancer looks like for them. So I think and she apologised afterwards, by the way, and this was she was a black woman.
Okay.
But what she was looking for was something that looked a bit sort of like scary and pores sticking out of cancer and, whereas mine was completely smooth.
Okay.
And I just think there hasn't probably been enough research into what happens with cancer in people that are of different origins.
Okay, so what it looks like, what are the differences actually at a cellular level, so it is easier to identify.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
But, so this your nurse, she's apologised for kind of missing it. How's everything been dealt with afterwards? Has it been fairly straightforward? Did you have... when you wanted to reconstruct and said, actually, this is what, if you're going to take my breast, I'd like it reconstructed. How was that?
I think that was really good, really informative. They gave me lots of different options of what I could do. I was able to go away and decide. I didn't have to make a decision right then and then. And I was given as much information as they could possibly give me with regards to doing a dip flap and how quite a serious operation it was, and there was no like a chance that it couldn't work.
Yeah.
And
that's really important, isn't it, actually? Because we've had a surgeon on actually talking about how important it is that patients understand the risks involved around reconstruction, that it isn't just a tick a box here and off we go. Actually, it's a really serious, surgery.
Yeah.
And so for patients to understand is vital, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they do need to know as much facts as you can possibly give them.
Yeah.
I'm the sort of person that I don't really want to know facts, actually. But give me the basics of what with information I can make a decision from.
Yeah.
That was good. So I think they were quite open about what my options were. I think the second time when I had reconstruction, they were trying to convince me to go through something similar, but using a different part of my body because they couldn't use the stomach anymore. And I remembered what I went through the first time, so I was like, I'm good, thank you. But I do remember when I had like the DEP surgery. So it literally is, they cut you. It's like a cartoon. They cut you from one side of your hip to the other side of your hip, and then they squeeze they take things out, and then you're basically bent over. And I do remember one nurse in particular, because I couldn't walk, I couldn't stand, I couldn't get up out of a hospital bed. And she was like, "You're going to get up." And I'm like, "Is this woman? is she for real? I cannot stand, I can't move, can't breathe." But I'm so grateful that she did, because without her encouraging me like to take a step every day, I probably would still be quite hunched over, because you get quite protective over your breasts, and you also get protective of the fact that you're going to split back open.
Yeah. That must be such a fine balance to have. And actually, as a nurse, or anybody in the healthcare situation, I think I'd be rubbish, because I'd go, "Oh no, you rest. That hurts you." You know. We've both been PTs, personal trainers in our past. And that's why I was so rubbish, because if someone was struggling with something, I'd go, "Should we just have a cup of tea?" Yeah. I would do it another time, So actually, I think those specialists, those healthcare professionals in that space, to be able to see that there's someone in pain, but be able to find that fine line to go, "Look, we need to do a little bit every day, because we can't stay here. We can't stay sitting down," or whatever that is. Yeah. That's. Yeah. So even if you didn't like her at the time, I'm sure. No, actually,
she was. Yeah, but it's tough love. But I'm grateful.
Yeah.
For her.
Yeah, I get it. I'm really pleased you've had a positive healthcare experience along the way. How was communication? In those times where you're waiting for things, did you ever have to advocate for yourself at all in anything?
Well, Macmillan nurses were really good, and they always seem to be available at each appointment. The consultants, but they're not there to be your friends, are they? But some of them didn't have the best bedside manner. But I think generally it was quite good. It was, it was like the 2-week general waiting. But yeah, I don't think I really had like a negative experience.
I'm really pleased.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this because it's interesting. We've had this before in other conversations. We were both, our healthcare was with the same trust, and we can have vastly different experiences along the way. And that will always be the case anyway, because we're different people. But even with similar, surgical teams, you can have very different experience. And I like what you said around your surgeons aren't there to be your best friend, And
but then in that moment, you sometimes want them to be a bit more bedside mannery. Yeah, I think my dad said to me, would you rather that they were really lovely to you or rather really, really good at your job? And I said, well, can't I have both? We not just have a bit, But there is one that trumps the other. Yeah. So, okay, great. Let's talk about then the wider impact that cancer has kind of left. Shirley pre-2015. Yeah. And Shirley in 2025. That's a decade now. What's the difference? I think maybe that word courageous comes into it. I don't know, a bit where you just don't let things get to you as much as they probably did before. You realise that your life could be shortened by this disease that you've got. It's always in the back of your mind. So I'm naturally kind of a positive kind of person. But it's 5 years on since the last time I had cancer, and it is a niggle in the back of my head thinking, is it coming back this year? I can't wait for this year to be over, because then I think, okay, it's not every 5 years that I'm going to get.
And isn't it funny what our brain does? Because we just sometimes we create patterns, you know, and to expect something. And you're right, you know, just getting over this year means right.
Yeah.
But nothing changes. But in our head, we go, oh, we've got over it.
Yeah. And I think also I'm a little bit more sort of hyper vigilant as well, just like how my body feels. I recently had like an ongoing cough that went on for ages. And in my head, I'd really kind of talked myself into the fact that I've got some sort of like lung cancer, or some sort of secondary, or, you know, so there's always that niggle. I try to push it away, but there is always that kind of what if, and what happens if it does come back, and, you know, how will I cope?
Yeah. Can we talk about something that we've had previous conversations about this? So, but can we talk about alcohol? Mm-hmm. Because there's lots of information out there about alcohol and the relationship with cancer, you know, and that. What's your take on things? How do you live life?
Yeah, so one of the consultants that I saw, probably the second time I had the cancer, he's like, do you drink? And I said, oh, occasionally. I have a glass every now and again, you know, or weekends. He said, you need to stop. And again, culturally, he was from a different background as well. So he had a different maybe way of approaching how to respond to that. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, because if you keep drinking, you probably will have cancer again. I was like, oh, okay. But I just kind of, at the time, I just took it as like a pinch of salt, thinking, well, they're going to tell you that, aren't they? But I don't drink much now. And it is something that's clearly in the back of my mind. So I will have a drink. I won't say I won't ever drink. But I don't drink during the week. I'll only drink socially. And even that, I don't really enjoy the feeling of if you had too much to drink the next day.
It's, I think part of British culture, you know, alcohol is ingrained in, you know, a lot of our lives anyway. And actually, similar to you, I would not drink all the time, but like not really be conscious of not drinking or drinking. And you hear and you read so much information, and because there is so much information around breast cancer and what causes what, depending on what you read, you know, it's hard to know what to follow. And then if you're getting that from a clinical specialist, it makes you listen a little bit differently, right? But it is. I don't drink very much. We've been out, you know, and both of us have been aware of going, you know, let's have an elderflower fizzy instead. But then every now and again, you know, that little, it's quite nice.
And it's still part of the social. You still want to be able to live and enjoy social space.
And it's balance, isn't it? I think you've got to just be comfortable with your own decisions, because you know, who knows how long life is for any of us. And for me, definitely, I'm a rebel. So if you said to me, you cannot drink any alcohol whatsoever, do not touch a drink, that would be all you would think about. So actually giving yourself permission to go, I can choose with all the information that I have. I can make a choice that's right for me in the moment today. And that choice might be different tomorrow. But I think... And
it was the same with smoking. I used to be a smoker. Okay. And the plastic surgeon first time round said, if you carry on smoking, I'm basically not going to do the surgery. So it was like, okay. I haven't really got a choice then, have I? So I actually want this surgery done. So
is that a standard thing? Do they?
I don't know. He said that it would affect the scarring. It would affect the healing of the work that he's done. So
I mean, I don't know enough. That makes sense. But I don't actually know enough medically or anatomically to go, that's correct. Okay. All right. Let's talk about body image then, obviously, because you've had some differences here, right? You went in with a mindset of having a lumpectomy. They found DCIS, which is precancerous cells around the breast, which meant that it needed to all be removed. So now you've had a mastectomy with an immediate reconstruction, and after that, so you've gone from your breast to still your breast, but built from another part of your body, and then you've been flat for a couple of years. So you've been through, and obviously now you've reconstructed again, but you've been through quite the spectrum of shapes when it comes to boobs. How did you feel flat versus all knowing that boobs are a
Yeah.
really important part of who you are?
So I think if I was fully flat, if I had a double mastectomy, I don't know if it would have had the same effect on me, but because I was sort of lopsided, I felt like I wasn't very womanly, I guess, which is crazy because there's lots of women that don't have breasts anyway.
Yeah.
I felt very unattractive, and put in there, my husband never made me feel unattractive, but that's how I was feeling.
Yeah.
And I just felt unwhole, like I wasn't complete.
Yeah. And I think we hear a lot about that symmetry piece being a real integral cog in that mindset, because obviously if you were completely flat, it's still also fair to say you would have felt less womanly or any of those things. Those absolutely, if that's how you feel. But it's the part of being not whole, because one is different. If you've grown up symmetrical, right, as we do as women, for the majority, we grow up with two breasts and they're part of our body that grows with our body, and then suddenly when that is asymmetrical, it's going to shift things. And so I think symmetry is probably more of a factor for a lot of people than otherwise.
I think so.
And when you were dressing, obviously, because you were talking about you had a prosthesis that you wore anyway, do you find it harder to find clothes or to feel comfortable in certain clothes?
Yeah, so I used to wear a lot of sort of, because I've always been quite,
A cleavage?
yeah, in my younger years. So I always used to have like my cleavage showing, not massively, but at least like a V-neck top. And it did change off, so things were then higher up on my chest, swimming costumes, which are kind of made just to sort of like show all your breasts and everything. So I had to sort of like rethink about how to still feel nice.
What did you do from a swimming costume perspective? Did you, because we can have aqua boobs, so you can have like boobs that you can take in the water,
Yeah,
you know?
I had one of those.
Okay.
Yeah. So I first of all, I went to like shops that did mastectomy kind of swimsuits that came halter neck ones that came up. And then I just started to, doesn't have to be a mastectomy one, I could just wear one that's kind of a similar shape. But I'm more of a two-piece kind of girl than a one-piece. So I was just always making sure that this part here was covered. Has
that shifted now that you have got a breast, your own breast in that space? Do you still feel do you still cover up, or do you?
To a certain degree, yes, but I can still wear things that are a little bit lower. I wouldn't go like plunge cleavage, but I would still wear something that's a bit lower.
One thing for me, I think, that I still am aware of, if I am clothes shopping, most of the time I don't necessarily go, I can't wear that, or I can wear that, but if I'm walking through lingerie departments, I absolutely avoid it. I have a massive kind of, no, don't look at that. And I think that's an impact. How is that for you?
So I don't wear like underwide bras anymore. But I do go to like Marks and Spencer's and get them the mastectomy kind of bras, because they're a bit more fuller and they cover up a bit more, and I feel a lot more supported by them. But I was saying, but I don't go for like nice looking fully underwear anymore. Because I don't think it'll sit properly, or I don't know how it would look on me. I don't know. So I think I just avoid it. I think it's just something that I've never really thought about. I just think, no, I'll just buy.
We had somebody on, and she's a breast cancer survivor, but she's also a fashion stylist. And she was talking about, how frivolous it is to make choices about clothing when we're talking about something like cancer. And she was saying about it's okay to still want to look nice, and still, and we don't just have to be grateful for, and function, I remember there were some lovely brands, clothing labels, who were designing stuff for flat women, but they were also like pocketed, like bra type, big, what are they called? Like bralettes, I think they're called bralettes. And I remember paying an extortion amount of money for a bralette, and it's so pretty, but I felt like I looked ridiculous in it, because there was nothing there for it to be, to hold. But I find the femininity or the prettiness in pants, right? So, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, can we talk about family?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know family's really important to you, and that support and ongoing. How have your family coped? And, you know, how's Hubs through this? As someone who's been consistent and been there.
So, so my husband is incredible because I suppose like anybody that's there as a support for someone that's unwell, he was just great. He just literally picked up the reins when he needed to with regards to the boys, very hands-on, checks in constantly, always makes me feel like I'm still attractive to him. But I also think that the person that's on the other side, yes, you're going through your cancer stuff, but I think the person on the other side is probably going through it a bit more because they're seeing what's going on, but they're also trying to be like this strong person to try and not let you know that they're struggling as well, to see you in pain or to think about your mortality or, you know.
Yeah.
And that's really tough, actually. I always think about, so now when I hear about people that are going through cancer, obviously check on the person that's going through cancer, but how's your partner? How are they coping with like what's going on? Because they don't want it to be about them, but it's still a lot to do with them because they're the ones that kind of holding it together.
Yeah, you're right. And I think in a family dynamic as well, even without children, it's a huge piece. But I think there is this real, I don't know, possible societal need to be quite stoic and get on and support and everything. And it's that vulnerability that none of us are immune from those feelings and emotions and those fears. And you're right, to watch someone that you love go through something and actually be fairly powerless to do anything to change that other than hold down the fort.
Yeah.
You know, there is a wider
impact. Got an outlet either.
Right.
Because they don't want to talk to you about how they're struggling because you're sitting there being sick because you're going through chemo or something, you know.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any kind of support groups. You know, if we're talking about a male-female relationship, because it doesn't have to be, right? Yeah. But I wonder if there is that support function to help. I'm sure there is. There must be kind of trusts must have almost got, like there's a thing for husbands or a thing for, you know, partners.
Yeah. I've never experienced it. I don't know if
I've never
heard them offer anybody, like apart from the patient, to have any support.
Just a bit of respite space to connect, right, with people that are also going through the same as what we're doing here. Same as what, you know, that there are forums and platforms for people to find others who are going through something. That's you know, part of the strategy of finding your belonging in life, right? Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe there is. Maybe there is, and we're not aware of it. But I think there's definitely
like a market for it, isn't there? There's a gap, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely think that. This is the first time that you've openly shared your story. In deep dive, right? We're going straight in with a microphone right in front of your face. We don't do anything half. But yeah, do you know, is there a conscious reason or decision not to or to?
I think probably not to, because I probably didn't want to at first, because I didn't want to sort of put myself out there and become quite vulnerable. And not everybody knows my story. I share with people I want to share with what's going on. It doesn't define me. So I've had breast cancer twice, but that's not who I am. So there's partly that, sort of just keeping it to myself or within my close circles. But to doing it now, I think it's always good to see a representation of somebody that looks like you.
Yeah.
So you can relate to them and realise, okay, it does happen to other people as well. It doesn't just happen to this group of people or over there, you know. And obviously it's quite high numbers as well of how many people actually get cancer.
Yeah.
Now, whereas it obviously that probably used to be a lot less. And I think, I don't know, it's quite controversial, but you know, it could be environmental. There's all sorts of reasons why is there cancer more? But you know, there are more people who represent people that like myself in somewhere like in Europe, in the UK. And it's happening to a lot of us.
Yeah.
You know, people that you speak to, it's happening to.
Yeah. And also, I don't think, you know, there are so many of us, we cross paths with so many people every day. And if anybody looked at you or I'm pretty sure they wouldn't go, oh, they wouldn't know. We don't know who we walk among who's got cancer, or who, you know, who has had cancer, or who's lost someone to cancer.
Yeah.
And so I think, the more that we can talk about it, I'm also not going to ignore the fact that I totally twisted your arm to come and talk to me.
I can say no.
Shirley, bring biscuits. We'll have a nice cup of tea.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to touch on the kids. So I know you said your youngest was in infant school, going into infant school, and then your eldest was going into, you know, his middle school.
Yeah.
And obviously they're much older now. And how are they? What's the impact on them? You know, what was the impact versus now?
So we decided for us, it worked better for us as a family to be completely open and honest with them, because I thought that they would hear lots of conversations been happening, and they would be a bit scared and worried about what was happening. Just before we kind of told them about the cancer, we were reading Gangster Granny. And Gangster Granny at the end dies of cancer. It's a very small part, but so that was their first question: are you going to die?
Yeah.
So yes, we are all going to die, but hopefully I'm not going to die from this disease. So we just kept the lines of communication open. We spoke to them a lot. They had lots of support from other family members. That was really good. I had lots of different people picking my children up from school, which didn't feel comfortable to me. But I was really grateful for those people that are willing.
Why didn't it feel comfortable to you?
Because that was my job. That was kind of like something I always did. I always dropped my kids off to school. I picked them up from school. I probably don't like asking people for help. So that put me in like a vulnerable situation that I felt like I was asking for help and I could probably do it myself. But I guess these things come to help you grow, and actually asking for help is not a bad thing. And I was very, very grateful for all those people. So all my children were, you know, after school, were well fed, were watered. They came home, so my husband didn't have to like worry about what to feed them or anything. All they need to do is bathe and go to bed, and then we could have time after they showered. After they showered and we clean from school germs. We can then like sit and hug and cuddle and stuff like that. So now, I mean, they're very, they know it's part of my story. When it came back again, I think it was like, well, this is not supposed to happen again. I thought it was just done and dusted. But yeah, they just take it in their stride. They're quite like matter of fact. I still talk to them about things, you know. I don't scare them. I still sort of like make it age appropriate or what I tell them.
Do you think the fact that they take it in their stride is largely because of how open you've been? You know,
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think there was nothing hidden, so there was nothing for them to worry about. If they had any questions, we just tell them to come and ask us directly, rather than overthink it. And but yeah. But then they've later seen that people do die of cancer. Yeah. That wasn't my story, but they have seen that has happened to people that they know and love. And
that's, I think, when you're younger, you know, your brain is almost going, you know, experience equals. And so as they get older, they have more examples of cancer, right? They have more examples of cancer to say that it's not just this equals this, right? They're living that. I can relate to that. Some hard conversations, actually, even, you know, being, I don't want to project. Were those hard conversations, being open with them, and, you know, when they would, you know, is mummy going to die? We're all going to die, you know, at some point. Yeah. Were they hard for you, or were you able to kind of?
I think with children, they're such wonderful beings, aren't they? That you give them information, as long as you give them the information, for my children, I should speak for. They're okay with that because you've given that information. You haven't hidden anything from them. So they're just taking what you say. Oh, okay. Oh, Mum, you're feeling sick today? Yeah. Okay. All right. I hope you feel better. You know, just move on. It's not like a
spiral and this and this and this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially if kids have grown up in a really safe environment where everything is what it is. This is a blip. You know. Yeah. They haven't grown up in an inconsistent, chaos where actually they've learnt to spiral really young, right? So yeah, I think mine were, how old were yours? So 4, 5.
4 and 7.
Yeah, so mine, mine 5 and 7. So those kind of conversations.
Yeah.
I can relate to those conversations.
Yeah. And it happened all in September. So they literally had just started school. So that was quite, for me, it felt tough, but for them, it was just their new norm, I guess.
Did you keep schools in communication? Were you? Yeah.
Yeah. So as soon as I got diagnosis and things like that, I'd let schools know. Yeah. They were brilliant, actually. They were really good, because I just thought if they have like a bad day and they, they're not doing things that they normally do, I don't want it to be like,
behaviour piece.
Behaviour.
Yeah, get it.
There's a reason behind what's going on. And they were good, and they would contact me and ask me how I was as well. But just like be a bit more nurturing, I think, to them.
Yeah. I think you've done a banging job with your kids.
Oh, thanks.
It's hard. It is. And the thing is, we can't hide from some of this stuff. It's nothing, life's going to throw curveballs at you sometimes. And that's the courage that we talk about, right? How you choose to show up with all the different things that, are going on. Yeah. So, got a great mum.
Oh, I've got a great mum.
No, they've got a great mum. You've also got a great mum, So. Okay.
No, that's fine. And same to you. I think you and your children are just gorgeous. It just makes me smile every time. It's like, I'm doing this
Thank you.
With them. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you a final question to kind of wrap everything up. It's a bit of a reflective one. So we start with a hard one, we end with a bit of a hard one, right? So if you were to give some advice to your younger self, right, your pre-cancer self, or if someone else was going through this, at the beginning, well, what would that be?
I would just say, try and not to worry about things you don't know about, which is very easily said than done. But also to make sure you've got a good network around you, people that you know and trust. You don't have to have hundreds of people around you, but just a few people that you can just sort of like be open and honest about how you're feeling. And be kind to yourself. Just don't be too hard on yourself. Just, if you want that biscuit, don't be unkind to yourself. We don't know how long we're here for. So just enjoy every moment that you have with those that you love.
I'm going to have a bunch of different T-shirts because I'm going to put that on a T-shirt as well. Somebody else said something this week and I was like, that's a great thing. People come out with these amazing phrases. That's one of them. Shirley, thank you for the conversation. I was so honoured, genuinely, really honoured and privileged that we get to do this today. So
thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So welcome. Cups and Courage shares honest, personal stories of people affected by breast cancer. The views you hear are those of the guests and host and don't replace medical advice. If you're concerned about your health, please speak to a doctor or healthcare team. Cups and Courage, the podcast.